Hey everybody, Coach Matt, soon to be Dr. Matt. I would like to, in an effort of making more content and getting more awareness out there for everybody, I want to start bringing some of my discoveries to light. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is by getting over my anxiety of people stealing my content, which has happened in the past. I won't say names, Kelly, but some people have stolen my content in the past and given me no credit. So I don't care anymore. This stuff is going to be copywritten under me and protected under all of my jurisdictions, all of my trademarks, everything. It's under my brand awareness. It's under my name. If you decide that you're going to watch this video and steal my stuff, I don't care anymore. I'll just sue you. So I'm not fucking around anymore, guys. I want to start bringing the actual truth and the real shit to people. So please, for the love of God, spread awareness. Please spread the videos. Please get my name more out there, because you got all these stupid people who are saying stupid stuff, and I don't care about them. I care about me. So I'm smart. They're dumb. We're going to get into it. What I have discovered, as you can see by my tier 5 art category here, which should absolutely be in the Louvre, I'm horrible at art. I cannot do art. I'm awful at this. I don't even know if you guys can really see this. I should probably stand on this side maybe. Yeah, I'll stand on this side so we can get started here. So what I've discovered is not only is there, ley lines. If you're not aware of ley lines in the world, they're essentially like chalk roll points. They're energetic frequency points that exist all throughout the world, because the world is a living thing. Just like we have chakras, so too does the earth. Well, I went and I took it a step further, because there's a lot of maps, there's a lot of differences in people's opinions on where some of these ley lines are. I think most people are actually pretty concentrated on, you've got a lot of like really powerful ley lines in the Himalayas, you've got a lot of really powerful ley lines in the Middle East, a lot of them in the United States, South America, basically every major continent. Which, how many are there? There's 7 continents, there's 7 chakras. 7 is a big deal. Why do we have 7? Because 7 is a big deal. But I went and I took it a step further. I studied pretty much all these major relevant cultures, and I've come to discover a ton of things. Essentially that we can categorically assign and associate zodiacal energies to specific parts of the world. And for all of you guys who might be new to the channel, my name is Coach Matt, soon to be Dr. Matt. I am a PhD student. I am currently on my way in a couple months here of finally getting my doctorate degree. But this is really, a lot of this stuff is really important to me, because the more, I can see there's some glare here. The more that what's this one? The more that we can focus. Yeah, it's this one. I'll just turn this one off. Does that help? No. The more that we can kind of focus here on, whatever, I'll leave it, on the relevant parts of each zodiacal sign and where its energetic signature is, the more that we'll be able to understand those cultures and understand each other to a greater degree. So what I've discovered is basically, it's not perfect, and that's probably because the maps that we've been given are inaccurate. As you guys already know, a lot of these maps, like the one at the EU, is actually circular in its creation. It's circular, just in the same way that we are circular when we're in our mother's wombs, before we become essentially, while we're what's called a blastocyst and we stick into our mother's uterine lining, we're still an orb, we're still a circle, and actually the whole body is not like anywhere close to mapped out, but it's a circular object which is all connected, that splits and breaks off at the head and the feet. Well, Japan and Korea over here, especially Japan, the land of the rising sun, they are actually what starts the time zone. So if you're unfamiliar, over in Japan over here, all the way that I have on the right hand side, because I know you guys can tell exactly what this beautiful world map is. United States is over here, South America is over here, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Russia, China, India, Australia, Japan. This is not to scale. I did not draw this to scale. Let me just get into it, because you guys are probably really antsy for it. So on the right hand side here is where we have the start of time for every single day. Japan actually is the land of the rising sun. They start every single day. They were a feudalistic warlord, samurai, bushido, very intricate with the warrior mentality, warrior mindset. a lot of what dignified a samurai class or a samurai general or captain would be insignias or crests that were on the head. They're also highly intelligent people, which is why Aries rules mainly that area of Japan, coupling with Korea, which is split up into two. So if you see Japan as essentially the pineal gland, very imaginative. They had they're the only country that has had supposedly nuclear weapons dropped on them. I know that's actually even being contested now. Some people don't even believe it, but regardless, Japan has always been a starter. They've always been wanting to be very competitive. They wanted to be the best, whether it was the samurai days of old or it was the new corporatized system that they have. And I guarantee you one day, maybe we'll see it in our lifetime, one day these people will return back to the state of war. Watch, anime. They've got a lot of that. Also, they're very neotenous. And what I mean by that is they like them young over there in Japan. They actually only recently just changed the age of consent from 13 to 16. And so for a very long time, it was 13 years old was and Aries is a very youthful. It's very all about playing and having fun. But Aries, being the cerebrum, also has a lot of self-sacrifice. There's a lot of brain cells in your mind that have to kind of get steered away or sacrificed in the neuropathy in order for you to make different connections, deeper connections, or mental acuities, or new synapses, new neurological synapses connecting. These people are very driven, very, eccentric. Now, Korea is split into two, just like your pituitary gland. I'm sure you guys are seeing where I'm going with this. You have North Korea and South Korea. You have the anterior and superior pituitary gland. So really, it's a trinity. So these three essentially act as the inner thalamus of the world. And that's actually super, super important. There's lots of really interesting stories, really interesting mythologies, a lot of great breakthroughs that come out of these parts of the world. They're very imaginative. They're really good with, especially Japan is really good with like animations and things like that. It's all imagination. And then you might say, well, Japan got their information from Disney World. They copied Disney World over here. We're going to get to that. Each one of these is also reflected in the opposite. So if we take a look at Aries, the opposite of Aries would be Libra. This again is not drawn to scale. Please ignore the top. I just put the top there because I'm bad at drawing and I also didn't want to forget anything. Libra is actually more so in the middle area here. Virgo and Libra rules mostly the Middle East. Libra is law and it's codexes, and there were a lot of Jewish people that actually came over before Matthew Perry's expedition to Japan, and the Jewish people brought the law, and a lot of the law, Hammurabi's code, all that started predominantly in the Middle Eastern area. We're going to get to that, all that stuff, good stuff in a second, but essentially, the Middle East, is mainly ruled by the energies of Virgo and Libra. So we'll get to those in a second. Taurus rules over the areas of like Korea, Russia, and China. I already detailed the pituitary gland aspect for Korea, but Russia and China, large open spaces of land, some of the largest land actually in the world. Russia is the largest country, not continent. Asia is the largest continent in general, so they say, but it's actually looking like Africa because we have really inaccurate maps. It looks like Africa actually might be the largest continent, if depending on what the maps actually state. But either way, these two are the fixed signs. Africa would be Leo, and we're going to get to them in a second. Taurus is Russia, China, and the Koreas. Russia and China, big on land, big on wealth accumulation, big on stubbornness, big on family. Ruski, you think of a Russian and you think of like this big like bull guy like walking through or whatever. That is solidified in their energy. They are stubborn, strong-willed people, including the Chinese. And the whole aspect of Taurus is the subconscious mind. So when you study Chinese or Russian like mythologies and legends, especially from China, they had a lot of like slow maneuvering. They're very big on the bull. That's a big aspect for the Chinese zodiac and for China itself. So Taurus is essentially that area. Now Gemini with its tiger stripes is basically going to mainly default to the parts of India, China, even some other parts of Russia, because remember the Kremlin is more to the west in Russia than it is to the east. And Gemini, and I'm going to get to the opposite for them as well. Gemini is Bollywood, right? So the reason why I say that is because Sagittarius rules the West Coast. That's the opposite. They have Hollywood. Well, Gemini is Bollywood. So there is a contention there. Gemini is all about communication. So in India, you have a lot of like scam call centers or whatever. They're also big on communicative efforts, and Gemini also shares its mercurial aspects with Virgo. And Virgo is very heavily associated with gut digestive elements. So India, being along that kind of similar line, they have a lot of obsession with spices. They even have like poop ceremonies and stuff. And don't attack the messenger, guys. This is like real stuff. You guys can go look this up. They do. They have a lot of different things that they do with dung, and they're probably the leading country in the entire world that had a fascination with that. You know, they have their Ganges River, which is pretty heavily polluted, but they say it's holy. And there's you know, there might be some truth to that because Indian people on average are actually quite intelligent. But as you can see, one of the aspects that are ruled over is communications and being able to have to learn English and speak with other cultures. And they're probably one of the most predominant countries in the world that has to deal with that aspect of having to learn other languages, learn other communication skills. Also highly intelligent. Gemini is one of the smartest signs, if not the smartest. And these people are the ones who coined things like Kundalini. These people are the ones that coined, you know, yoga, all the different types of yogas. So very intricate, very interesting to see that. Now, again, this is where we kind of get like this weird little branch here, because Cancer actually is mostly Europe. The Europeans, the Caucasian, the white people, they're ruled mainly over by the moon and the sun, actually, which is why there's like been a stark fascination with you know, Anglican Caucasian culture, and it's called Caucasus Caucasian because it borders on Asia. So Cancer having to deal with psychic ability, having to deal with basically being the youth. It's the young. I am a Cancer myself, and I'm very pale, but the light, whiter skinned people had to deal with Cancer. They are the filterers. So Alexander the Great went around filtering everything, you know, a lot of conquerors, a lot of people in Europe. And, you know, we talk about well, a lot of people in the kind of political stratosphere today talk about like white supremacy and all that stuff. Really, at the end of the day, white people are actually very connected into observing other people. That's actually how their culture, if you go all the way back to the Indo-Aryan peoples, this is essentially how the cultures of Europe progressed. They studied a wide variety of different cultures. They were kind of a baby species, and then they came out and they said, okay, just like how the moon is a pretty relatively new object in the entire spectrum of objects that we have in the sky. So Europe would mainly have to deal with the Cancerian element, and Leo would be Africa, because this is where we find this. Don't forget too, in Europe, what are they really big on? Well, it's believed that domesticated dogs started, you know, somewhere between China and Europe. So that's one thing. Another thing is seafood. So these people are really big on seafood, and that's actually one of the biggest staples in their diets. You know, lobsters, crabs, different forms of fish, shellfish, you know, oysters, clams, and cockles. All that originated in, not originated, but was very heavily prominent in Europe, which is exactly what Cancer rules over. Now, Africa would be the Leonic. They're the heart. You know, they call it the heartland. Now, I know Russia's like we're the motherland, right? We're the heart. Well, the motherland, we are on Mother Earth. That is ruled by Taurus. Okay, but this is really the heart of the world, and that is Africa. It's probably the biggest, but really unsure. And really, it's not just Africa, but it couples along with Egypt and the Middle East, because this is where it's like the energy goes up for Cancer here, and it comes down Leo, and it swoops back around into the Middle East here for Virgo and Libra. So we actually have some contention points here. So we're already at the halfway point after, between Virgo and Libra, and this is the Middle East. Remember, it's in the middle. What else is in the middle? The stomach, okay? Virgo and Libra are in the middle. If you go and you study, like even NASA, they'll say, hey, by the way, we are in the Virgo supercluster, which means that we're in the middle. So remember when they taught you in school, hey, our dumb ancestors said that we were in the middle of the universe, we were like at the dead center. They were right. And when your teachers told you they were wrong, they were wrong. Because in fact, the Middle East is the pure middle, and this is where we got this guy named Jesus who came out of. And we're going to get to him in a second. But the Leo rules over Africa. This is where you have the lions. This is where it's the heat. This is, a lot of African cultures are based in rhythmic dancing, and that's something that a fire sign would absolutely be inculcated in. Fire sign, fire energy loves to dance. So there's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of wars that happen, internal struggles, like, battles of the heart, right? So these people, the African people, they're very heart-centered. If you get to know people from Africa, which I have, just working in my, working on Wall Street and all the past experience that I've had, African people, very interesting. Now, what's the opposite of Leo would be Aquarius. So you look, Antarctica actually is what represents Aquarius. And we're going to get to that in a second, but as you can see, they couldn't be more opposite. This is one of the most populated countries and has been for a very, very, very long time. And this is not, this is not a populated area at all. And this is actually where Antarctica is where a lot of the secrets are hidden, which is what another thing that Aquarius details. It's like secrets that can come out of nowhere, right? And that's been a point of contention for like the last 100 years or so with all the different things. We have pyramids in Antarctica. Nazi bases were made in Antarctica for specific reasons, having to deal with potentially the poles and everything, etc., etc. Now let's get back to Virgo and Libra. Virgo and Libra is the Middle East, okay? Jesus was born in what's called Bethlehem, which is the house of bread. Virgo rules the house of bread. This is the house of bread, the Middle East, where all the law and the scriptures come out of. Also, Virgo rules people, just like people in general, people that we understand as people. This is where you had a huge influx of culture, food, it was a big deal here, a lot of, political thought, a lot of higher level thinking, and then of course, guided by the moon, this is where, between the moon and the law, this is where we got that cardinal energy, which really stamped and put in the way that we perceive history, the way that we perceive morals, the way that we perceive scripture or the law itself, So, and Torah means the law, and so does Kabbalah, actually, in different ways. So, continuing on, because I'm going to get to the opposites in a second here, we have Scorpio. So, the water here is kind of like just the water, and ultimately the Scorpio rules over the waters, and we have the Bermuda Triangle over here, which would be predominantly ruled over by the Scorpionic area, and that's of course a big secretive thing. And you have the East Coast here, Washington D.C. This is where we have the CIA, FBI, and all that secret organizations. Now Virgo also rules secrets, and that's why in Israel you have Mossad, which is basically the Israeli CIA. So these two always like to get along, and they try to use Libra as like their middle point, but oftentimes, they end up skewing one way or another, which is why we have the issues that we're in now. East coast of the United States is Scorpio. It's green, it's lush, it's fertile land. Okay, this is where we grew the tobacco. This is where people, left from the Cancerian era over to the Scorpionic era to say, hey, we're breaking away. Okay, we're breaking away from whatever you guys got going on there. We're going to basically like backstab you. We're going to go do a revolution. But it ended up turning out good because remember, everything's an inversion. So a lot of people have bad opinions about Scorpio, but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have America. Also, what is America really big on? We're the greatest country in the world, and that whether it's true or not, whether it's a lie or whatever, it is the delusion that they create for themselves, and delusions are also ruled by Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules the West Coast. They're the entertainers. You have Hollywood. You have all that red land over there. You have Arizona, which is the Aries zone. Okay, so they were like, yeah, this is fire land, but you know what? We'll give that one to Aries. We'll give that the Aries zone. And we'll put Aries people over there. That is essentially how this is all kind of formulated out. And you remember, it's all red and kind of barren over here because Sagittarius is like the thighs. It's the entertainer. It's the one that wants to like go up and have fun. And again, delusion with these people because they're kind of like broken off from the outside world. Until, like, you know, of course they started opening themselves up again, but that was kind of a problem because these people actually have to be alone by themselves for good periods of time so that they can focus in. It's the same with the sexual energies. If you're giving your sexual energy to everybody, well, guess what? The world fails. But if you harness the sexual energy internally, then the whole world will succeed. It's a very simple concept. I don't know. I should be a politician. I should run for president. Okay, so South America is ruled mainly by Capricorn. And the reason for this is a couple of things. Number one, what's the opposite of Capricorn? Cancer. They're very big on the Holy Mother, so they look up to the Holy Mother. They're very hard workers, and Capricorn also rules sacrifice. Mayan, Aztec, Incan peoples were all big on sacrifice. Okay, so that was that was a big part of their culture. Not like other cultures didn't have that. They did, especially like in Europe, because again, Cancer and Capricorn are on that same line. This is where we had tons of people sacrificing themselves to different gods, different deities, or what have you. This is also where there was a lot of survivors after the last deluge, the last cataclysm that we had, Noah's flood, Epic of Gilgamesh, about 6,000 years ago when the world flooded out of Cusco, Peru, and a bunch of other places, which I've actually been to Peru. Sacred Valley, I could absolutely see with those high-ass mountains how they were able to kind of save themselves because, you know, they were really high up. And so Capricorn is like the knees, it's like the stability. So many good things come out of here having to do with like ayahuasca or wachuma or any types of spiritual medicines because, you know, Capricorn's a very Saturnian element. Antarctica would be Aquarius because, you know, I mean, it even looks like the symbol for it. And it's where there are a lot of hidden spiritual secrets. It is in the cold, icy death of Antarctica, which is a very Aquarian element. Cold, icy, you know, they got the big blue eyes and everything, those Aquarians. And there's like nobody there. There's like nobody there. It's like when you talk to your Aquarius friend and nobody's home. Sorry, Aquarius, I love you. So the last one would be Pisces, and that's where you have all the Pacific Islands. Okay, so this is where you have Hawaii, the Philippines, and all that. I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. They are a spiritual people. They're connected to the earth and the water, very intuitively tapped in. They eat a lot of fish, again, just like the East Coast. East Coast is also really big on fish because they're Scorpio too. So you can actually see like fire areas would be the ones that are the most barren in foods. So West Coast, we don't really grow a lot of food on the West Coast. In America, we grow it in the middle and on the East Coast. Africa, I don't even really have to explain that one. There's not a lot of food production in Africa. And then lastly would be like Japan, but Japan even had a lot of struggles with their food. Like nowadays it's very different because Aries also rules like part of the head too, so keep that in mind. But Japan had tons of famines. They had tons of famines that had to do with especially rice because it was very difficult to store it back in the day, and they were a very rainy area. So when you get rice wet, it grows mold and then you can't eat it, and it killed a lot of people. Now we can talk about opposites. The opposite of Aries would be Libra. And again, Aries is all about the feudalism. And remember, these are all on the same line. So Aries and Libra will share energy. Taurus and Scorpio will share energy. They'll make up for things. You know, they'll kind of expose each other's weaknesses, but also play into each other's strengths. So Aries, the opposite would be like the Middle East. And like I had mentioned, these two cultures had come together and had made profound innovations with each other once they had fully opened up. Taurus, opposite is Scorpio. And so we have a lot of the contention of United States versus Russia and China. That's that's been a huge thing forever, and well, not forever, but like especially in like the last 100 years. And so that is like a huge contention point. India, opposite would be Sagittarius, which is why a lot of Indian people come over to America to work, and also why a lot of people in the United States look to India or go to India for spiritual work. So there's a reflection there. Kundalini and yoga is becoming very popular over here in this part of the world these days. And remember, the Aquarian element of the internet. Aquarius often has to deal with like the neurology of the body. It has to deal with circulation. It has to deal with the light body, the inner light body. And so the point of bringing that up is because Aquarius being down here, but the internet is what exposed the Aquarian aspects of secrets. It's also what connects us as human beings, as people. And so as the internet was introduced, 30, 40 years ago, these things are like these energies are rapidly connecting with each other to a degree that they weren't before. When we stepped into the age of Aquarius and we actually inculcated our own neurological system to connect all of us internally, you can connect people all across the world in their own homes, and it's kind of like a spiritual thing almost, because it's like you don't even realize how well connected everything is until you look at history and you see how disconnected we were before the internet. So now all of these energies are speeding up. Opposite of Cancer would be Capricorn. The Europeans came, conquered the South Americans killed a lot of the Europeans. Each of them gave a ton to each specific culture. The conquistadors, right? The conquistadors were attracted to the opposite of where they went. They were looking for India. They were looking for their neighbor, but they didn't find it. They ended up finding basically their opposite. They went over here, they went over there. And so Cancer was attracted to not only the other water element, but also their opposite. So that's where they ended up going. And of course, these cultures give to each other a lot these days. Leo, densely populated, very, very prideful people too. Opposite would be Antarctica. So there's a lot of secret pyramids hidden in Egypt. There's a lot of, well, they're not secret in Egypt, but there's a lot of secret pyramids in Antarctica. So these two are opposites as well. Egypt is ruled kind of mainly between like Leo, Virgo. Egypt was like this central point. This is why they loved Egypt so much back in the day, because Egypt was like truly a central point where like Leo, Libra, and Virgo, which are all three very human zodiacal energies. Because remember, we're in the Virgo supercluster. This is like the central area, and this is why they built pyramids there and everything. So there's pyramids there, there's pyramids there. There's a ton of people here, there's not a lot of people here. It's just another thing. Now Virgo, opposite of Virgo is, where is it? Pisces. So as you can see in the Middle East, this is like the middle part where there's like tons of people and culture and everything else, which has bled out to the rest of the world. A lot of spiritual stuff though for the like the Hawaiians, the Pacific Islanders. It's very spiritual, it's very mystical. So this is more like rooted in like solidity. And what you'll see with like the Virgo element, because it's an earth sign, the Jewish people want to really literalize everything, which has caused a lot of problems in their own faith. They take all of their interpretations literally. They literalize and physicalize. I don't think that's the right word. They make everything physical. They make everything lower density. They make everything like low frequency. Okay, so that's why they have a lot of people are coming out against them for their scriptures right now, because they're saying, hey, maybe some of this stuff is more metaphysical. Read Corinthians 2, I think it's Corinthians 2, where the Apostle Paul, I believe, is asked, what was it like to follow Jesus? This is after he resurrects, and Paul says, if you speak in, I'm butchering this, if you speak in terms of man, you're not going to get us. But if you speak in the words of the Lord, then you're going to understand. What he's saying is you have to think more metaphysically about the things that Jesus was saying. It's not literally, because that was the whole problem. And don't forget too, Libra also is the setting sun. It's the evening. Okay, so it's Eve. So The reason why that's important is because they have the Western Wall. They have the Western Wall. Their main holiday, like their biggest religious holiday for the Jewish people, is on, you know, that cusp. But each year, anywhere between like September 21st to like October 10th. It's always somewhere in between there, and it's because we're moving into Libra season. It's the fall of things, and this is why they have a lot of contention. They have the Western-facing wall, which like Trump and Biden and everybody goes and they put their hand on it and they pray on it. Yeah, that's a big deal because this is like where they believe the end of the world is going to be. Even Trump said that in the podcast with Joe Rogan. He said, you know, there's a lot of prophecies that say that the world's going to end in the Middle East, right? Well, that's because this is also where it starts, Alpha and Omega. So yes, the apocalypse is going to be spurred by the Middle Eastern people. This is something that anybody who's a biblical scholar or you know, a Jewish or Islamic scholar is going to understand. And let's not forget about Islam, because Islam is also in that point too. And what are they big on? They're big on the worship, the physicality. They got the black cube. Again, this is the earth. They got that Virgo element. They got the law. They got their scriptures. This is, again, the Libra element. So you have all three major world religions that they claim come out of here. But the more mystical, higher-minded stuff is actually from the Eastern Orient. I say Orient. That's funny because normally we don't use that word anymore, but that's the books that I read from like hundreds of years ago. Oh, I also forgot about Australia. Australia is kind of like a weird one. I would probably be willing to assume, I didn't really give this one too much thought, but like this was more of like a colonized thing where like people were moved from here up to here. And so I'm going to assume that this has to do something as well with like the lower mind or like the amygdala, because there's a lot of scary shit that comes out of Australia. Those people are freaking crazy. I recently watched a documentary about cane toads, and I learned more about the Aussie people than I did about cane toads, because I just learned that these people are freaking nuts and I do not want to fuck with any Australians. So Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, where are we at? Pisces. Okay, so yeah, so all of those are opposites. I think I went through everything actually, yeah. Okay, so this is my theoretical whatchamajig about the world and the different energies that kind of are encapsulated in all of this. I hope that this was informative. Again, don't steal my shit or I'll sue you. And yeah, guys, I love you guys, really, I do. Please, if you guys see anybody else, nobody else is talking about this. Nobody else has these formulated theories. Again, you know, this should probably be in an art museum somewhere and how good it is. But yeah, nobody else has a lot of these formulated theories. But just imagine if we were able to bridge the gap of cultures and understanding by looking at things like this and then, you know, detailing and coming together and having bigger, broader conversations, just because, you know, we were able to crack some codes on ley lines, zodiacal energies, and how people act and operate. And again, it's not one for one. Yes, all of these are generalizations, probably stereotyped. And that's okay, because, you know, there are certain aspects of cultural truths that exist in stereotypes that are created. Now, obviously, we don't want to be racially discriminatory, but we have to also understand that we are different and we have different energies and frequencies and signatures and such. Anyway, that's going to be it for today, at least for my rambling shenanigans on this. If you think that I'm racist or something, I mean, go fuck yourself. I don't care. I love all of you guys. You guys are great. And I hope that, well, yeah, please just spread this video around. Spread awareness. Get my channel out there, because I'm going to start making a lot of awesome, you know, bomb-dropping content like this. So please do. Please share it around. I love you guys. I appreciate every single one of you that's supporting me. If you guys want to learn more really cool stuff like this, go check out my life coaching program. Go check out my school. I just opened up my school, and it's only going to be at $21 a month for a limited time, and then I'm going to be bumping it up to $33 a month once I get my doctorate and I'm all fully solidified. I'm going to be making content like this a lot more, because I really want the messages to be out there. So I love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Please support me any way that you can, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.